So this is it. This is the Nexus 5X. This is the true successor to the original Nexus 5 that came out a couple of years ago. And the Nexus 5 was probably one of the most popular Nexus phones ever made. And 2 years later, here we are with the 5X, which is also made by LG. And I've only had this phone for a couple of days now, which is not enough time to do a full review or anything, but it is enough time for me to give you guys my first impressions. And I want to start with the design. So the first thing that struck me with this phone when I first got it out of the box was how small and compact it feels in the hand and how light it feels. And I don't know if it's just me, and maybe I'm just used to using phones that have been made of metal or metal and glass, which are typically a lot heavier, but this phone just feels incredibly light and really easy to use in one hand. So I do like the overall size and I like the weight of it. The plastic build, it doesn't feel cheap by any means, but it doesn't have that same sort of luxurious or quote unquote premium feel that you would get from a metal or a metal and glass phone. But it does feel very sturdy and solid, and I do like the matte finish as well. The matte finish provides a lot of grip, and it also does a really great job of detracting fingerprints. And I love the way that the corners are rounded off and the way that the back sort of tapers down on the sides. So overall, I do like the look of the Nexus 5X. I think it's a great looking phone, and it really embodies the look and feel of a Nexus. One new addition to the Nexus 5X and also the Nexus 6P is actually on the bottom, and that's a USB Type-C port. And I'm pretty sure within the next 6 months to a year, USB Type-C is pretty much going to be everywhere, and probably every single smartphone that comes out next year is going to be USB Type-C, at least I would think so. But as of right now, because USB Type-C is not all that prevalent and it's only on a few devices, you could probably count on your hands how many devices are using USB Type-C. It's a little bit more of an inconvenience than it is a convenience. And because it uses USB Type-C, if you don't have any other devices that use this particular port, the only cable that you're going to be able to use is the one that comes with the 5X. And the cable that comes with the 5X is actually USB Type-C on both ends. So that means the wall adapter is also a USB Type-C port. So not only is the cable reversible, but it's also reversible. So I do love the fact that the cable is reversible, but unless you happen to own a 12-inch MacBook or one of the new Chromebook Pixels, you're not going to be able to use this cable for data transfer. And if you're looking to charge this phone, you pretty much have to lug this cable everywhere that you go, especially if you're traveling or even just moving room to room within your own home. Another really nice thing about this USB Type-C port is that it actually supports fast charging, and I have to admit the Nexus 5X charges extremely quickly. I've been able to go from 0 to full with the phone on in about an hour and 20 to an hour and 25 minutes, which is pretty quick, and actual battery life is actually pretty good too. I've been able to get through a full day without any issues whatsoever, but I don't think you're going to be able to get too much more than that with the 5X here. But if you're just looking for a good full day's worth of battery life, the 5X should do the job just fine. Another standout feature on the 5X is the dual front-facing speakers, and for a sub $400 smartphone, they actually sound pretty good. I don't think they're the best front-facing speakers that I've ever heard on a smartphone, but because they're on the front, they're automatically already better than any other phone out there with a bottom-mounted or a rear-mounted speaker. So I do like the speakers quite a bit. I think they lack a little bit of low-end punch, but otherwise they sound really great, and it makes for a very awesome experience when watching videos or playing games. Also on the front is the 5.2-inch screen, which comes in at a resolution of 1080p, so it's not Quad HD or anything. It's still the same resolution as the Nexus 5 from a couple of years ago, but I've really had no problems with the screen at all. It's plenty sharp, it has great colors, great viewing angles. It is a little bit difficult to see outdoors, but if you crank up the brightness all the way, you'll really have no problems with it at all. So I really enjoyed this screen. It might be a little bit too small for some people, but if you like that one-handed usability, you're really going to enjoy the screen on the Nexus 5X. Now, just to recap some of these specs really quickly, you're looking at a Snapdragon 808 and 2 gigs of RAM, which some people might find to be a little bit low, especially for 2015, but I've really had no issues with the performance of this phone at all. Everything has been really smooth, really snappy, very responsive. I haven't encountered any lag whatsoever, whether I'm I'm multitasking or playing games or just generally using the phone every day, I have had no problems at all. So I haven't found the 2 gigs of RAM to be an issue whatsoever. Now I want to move on and talk a little bit about the camera, which is supposedly a much improved experience. So what you're looking at is a 12.3 megapixel Sony made sensor, and it measures in at 1.55 microns in pixel size. And Google says that these larger pixels are going to be a lot better for low light, and you don't need optical image stabilization because of it. But honestly, I would have liked to have seen OIS anyways, just because it makes for more stable footage when recording video. But as far as the actual picture quality goes, I've actually been pretty impressed with them. In daylight, it takes some really great looking photos, and the dynamic range looks to be really good. It doesn't overblow the highlights or crush the shadows or anything like that. But as far as actual low light and nighttime photos go, I haven't been overly impressed with them. It seems to be very aggressive in noise reduction, especially in the darker parts of the images. And the camera tends to take on the white balance of the surrounding light sources. So a lot of the photos tend to come out a little bit yellowish, but I don't want to fully assess the camera just yet. I still want to test it a little bit more and take a few more photos, but that should give you an idea of the results that I've been getting with this camera. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the software. So because this is a brand new Nexus phone, you're obviously getting the latest version of Android with Android 6.0 Marshmallow right out of the box. And aesthetically, you're not going to notice too many differences between Lollipop and Marshmallow because many of the improvements are actually under the hood, but you're also getting some really nice software features as well. And I'm not going to go over all of these features in this particular video. I'm going to save that for the full review. But one of the biggest highlight features of Marshmallow is Now on Tap. And if you're not familiar with this feature already, it basically makes Google Now contextually aware, so it can actually analyze the information that it sees on the screen, no matter what application you're in or if you're on the web browser. It can analyze that information and give you what it thinks is pertinent to what you're looking at. So for example, if you're texting a friend about going to see a particular movie, if you trigger Now on Tap by long pressing on the home button, it will give you suggested applications to apps that will give you movie times, or applications like IMDb that will give you information about the actors that are in the movie. Even though I've been playing with Now on Tap for the past couple of days now, I've only actually had one real life scenario where I was able to use Now on Tap, and that was when I received a text message with an address that I needed to navigate to, and instead of copying the address, opening up Google Maps, and then pasting it and starting my navigation, I was actually able to just trigger Now on Tap, and it saw the address and instantly provided me with Google Maps as a suggested application, and I was able to start my navigation right from there. So it definitely makes things a lot simpler and quicker and easier to do. Another really awesome feature of Android 6.0 is built-in fingerprint support, which Google is calling Nexus Imprint, and this is going to allow third-party developers to tap into this and build in fingerprint support into their own applications. And the 5X can also tap into this as well due to the built-in fingerprint scanner on the back. And the fingerprint scanner, in my experience so far, has been very reliable and very quick. It probably takes about a half a second from when you place your finger on the actual scanner itself to the phone unlocking. So it's not the fastest. That title still belongs to the Huawei Mate S, but it's fast enough that you're not going to have any problems with it whatsoever. And I've really enjoyed using the fingerprint scanner. But there you go, guys. This has been my first impressions of the Nexus 5X after 48 hours. Obviously, I will be going more in depth in the full review, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And subscribe down below so you don't miss out on that video when it goes live. And also give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. And also don't forget to check out the website as well, AndroidAuthority.com, because we are your source for all things Android.